From the East Brunswick Jewish Center, I'm Rabbi Jeff Pivo. There are two major topics in this week's Parsha, in Acharei Mot. One is the offerings on the altar associated with expiating sin. The other, a list of prohibited sexual relationships. Now, at first glance, these two subjects seem really totally unrelated. The purging of sin through sacrificial offerings on the altar and the avoidance of certain sexual acts. Yet each of these passages is read on the day of Yom Kippur, the first in the morning and the second in the afternoon. And there is a common word that is used at the beginning of each section that suggests a deeper affinity between the two. Describing the Kohanim, the priests entering the Mishkan, the sacred tabernacle, to make the sacrifices, the Torah recalls the deaths of Aaron's two sons when they drew too close, it says, to the presence of God. And that Hebrew word, korvatam, drawing close or even encroaching on God's space, makes clear that the rituals that they were about to enter into were quite serious, and that performing them requires the right approach to that task, the right intent. That same Hebrew word, or its root anyway, is used when introducing the list of prohibited sexual relations at the end of the Parsha. The Torah says, "None of you shall come near, tikrivu, anyone of his own flesh, to uncover nakedness." Here too, the seriousness of the prohibitions is emphasized by including the same word that applied to the warning of the seriousness of the sacrificial offerings, approaching, drawing near. Instead of simply stating concerning the sexual prohibitions, "Do not uncover the nakedness of your mother, your sister, etc., the Torah seems to consciously add the word for coming near to make more explicit the connection to the earlier sections about sacrifice. Now, why would that be? I've often said that sex and death are the two primary concerns of the Torah. It's not really for children. Nearly every narrative episode, as well as many of its legal sections, involve either one or both of these great themes. So we should not be surprised when we know that art does much of the same thing, whether in literature, in film, or in dance. Sex and death are central human concerns, and we wouldn't be fully human if we weren't interested in them. So when the Torah describes animal sacrifice, which is to say the slaughtering that will purge our sins, or the sins of our sexual relationships, it is touching on primal experiences that should be approached only with a sense of awe and of seriousness. These are things that are undertaken only with great care for their meaning and their effect on us. When our ancestors approached God's presence with the taking of an animal's life, they were doing so with a great appreciation for what that meant, with awe and with seriousness, just as human beings should approach a sexual encounter with awe and seriousness and an appreciation for what that encounter can mean. The Torah teaches us that sin, sex, and death are the nexus at which we should sanctify our relationships with each other and with God, by heightening our awareness of how we approach each of them and their effects on the human being, on our partners in life, and our partnership with God. A Shabbat Shalom from everyone here at the East Brunswick Jewish Center.